The evidence we've gathered does not implicate President Trump in any way. Public reporting, survivor testimony, and official documents show that Bill Clinton had far closer ties to Epstein.
All the Republicans in the House are for maximum transparency and always have been.
How about that? President Trump, seemingly, I guess, cleared today by the House Republican Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer of any wrongdoing in the Epstein files and pointing the finger at former President Bill Clinton, as you heard there, while also today the House Speaker Mike Johnson pledging to make the content of the files known. Lots of questions, though, as you know, still remain, including when and if the files will be released to the public and whether the former President of the United States will actually be deposed. Full panel here with me now. Scott Bolden, News Nation political contributor. Denise Gitsham back with us, News Nation political contributor. Bill McGinley, former cabinet secretary in the first Trump administration. And out there in cyberspace with us, Chris Hahn, former senior aide to Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer, News Nation contributor. Hello to you all. Thanks for being in. Nice to have you in. Bill, I thought it was interesting that day 21 of the shutdown, and all of a sudden now Republicans want to talk about the Epstein files.
Well,
why?
Look, I think that they've gone through the evidence. They've been looking at everything that's been submitted from the Department of Justice, plus everything that they've independently gathered. They said it, the testimony, the documents, nothing is pointing to Trump. But he do have an outstanding request for President Clinton to come in and talk because they have questions. So if you want to wrap up the investigation, President Clinton should come in and let's have the bipartisan interview and wrap it up.
So then I'm sure you got folks out there screaming, then just release the files.
I mean, yeah, I guess that you could, and I believe in that. Look, Scripture says, then you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And I believe that if you're innocent and that comes forth, we should have full transparency. But it will be interesting to see if Democrats are still pushing for the release of these files at that last signature that would come from a Democrat to see if that actually comes to pass.
All of a sudden, Scott, all of a sudden, Chris, Democrats were suddenly interested in this case. And now you got Comer flipping the script a little bit, no?
What? Chris?
No, to you.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You know, my colleague Bill Ginley over there, he just drew so much out of Comer. This investigation is not over. They've got a lot of interviews to do. And just because they took a shot at Bill Clinton doesn't mean that Donald Trump is still in the files, Clinton's in the files, and there's several others. Doesn't matter who's in the files. What are they doing in the files? That's the real key here. And so I think that was just a political shot more than anything.
Hahn?
Here's my thing. Anybody who is guilty or has been accused by credibly of abusing young women needs to be held accountable, whether it's Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, or one of the many donors to Donald Trump, who I think is who he's really protecting here. And frankly, it's time for those files to be released. He should swear in the new lawmaker from Arizona, get that signature, or maybe not even, he doesn't even need that. He could call a vote right now. He's the Speaker of the House, and it would pass. So let's get it done. What are they hiding?
As you were saying that, Bill McGinley said, "Oh, please." Yeah. But we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. I got a lot of high-powered attorneys here. They can go back and forth, but I want to push this forward for a second, because one of the fascinating things today, President Trump, late afternoon, made a ton of news in the Oval Office. And there were questions his way, so he was asked, he answered, about Zohran Mamdani. We are 2 weeks away from Election Day in New York City. The president was asked about him, and here's just part of what he said.
Is the Democrat Party now more Zohran Mamdani's party than it is even Leader Schumer's or Leader
Probably
Jeffries?
is, yeah. I mean, maybe he'll run for president in 4 years. You have a communist president. That would be interesting, right?
All right, what's he doing there?
Basically, unfortunately, he's trying to save the Democratic Party because the Mamdani AOC wing is controlling the agenda up on Capitol Hill and out in the states. And I think the president is hoping that he can help save New York City from what would be a disastrous mayoral term if Mamdani actually does win. So he called on the Republican to drop out, and that Cuomo might have a chance.
Well, so he was asked about Curtis Sliwa, the Republican dropping out. He basically said he didn't want to get involved with it because he's seen the polling numbers. It seems like he's almost resigned to, like, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I think the Democrats are too. I think the Democrats are all lamenting the fact that they could have this socialist mayor who, frankly, is scaring quite a few New York City residents that are talking about fleeing the city if he gets in.
They're not all lamenting it, Scott. Earlier you said, go mom dummy, and I think of you as a really thoughtful Democrat. But what I think you guys are beholden to is you're terrified of this movement that basically moderate Democrats are passé. Nobody cares anymore. All they care about is this resistance movement that happens to be wrapped up in this sort of like passionate plea, but for what? Socialism. And so you're scared that they're going to come after you next and cancel you the way they have Chuck Schumer.
You know what's amazing about Republican analysts who talk about Democratic politics and the Democratic Party and what we're thinking and feeling? It's an amazing thing because they're probably the least informed. No offense personally to you all, but the reality is this. The Republicans are very scared of Mamdani. Democrats aren't. They're going to celebrate the fact whether he's labeled himself a Democratic Socialist or not.
Well, he has.
But more importantly,
But
what scares the Republicans and some conservative Democrats is the following, that he's talking about affordability issues, and Democrats, independents, and probably some New York Republicans are celebrating that. If you're going to help me make my life more affordable as an American, why wouldn't I support you? I don't care what label it is.
There's lots.
I don't care what label it is. So we're not lamenting anything. We're going to celebrate that. And the fact that a Democratic Socialist wins in New York does not permeate the Democratic Party or the America as some socialist downpour.
Nobody thinks socialism is the answer.
And he's not a communist either, by the way.
Margaret Thatcher said the problem with socialism is you run out of other people.
Hey, Hahn, I want to leave you with this because you know Curtis Sliwa as well as anyone I know. He's the Republican on the ticket. And here was the soundbite from President Trump, and then I'll pick it up from there.
Would you call Curtis Sliwa to drop out of the race so that can happen?
Well, I looked at the polls, and looks like we're going to have a communist as the mayor of New York. It'll be very interesting. But here's the good news. He's got to go through the White House.
Do you believe Sliwa was in it up until Election Day, Chris?
I mean, he's sounding like he is, and he's getting a lot of pressure from people who are really close to him, who have been supportive of him, not just in his political career, but in other parts of his career, and that might have some sway on him. Today he came out saying he's not going to get out no matter what. I'm not sure I fully believe that, but I actually agree with the president here. I don't think him getting out is going to change the result. Mamdani ran a race that is strikingly similar to Donald Trump's race. And here, for the record, I get called a socialist every day by people who I am much better at capitalism than. So if they're going to call us socialists anyway, why not? Let him win. He's ran a campaign. It's a good campaign. And what are you going to do? Campaigns matter.
Scott Bolden, Denise Gitsham, Bill McGinley, thank y'all. Appreciate it.